And we're live. Who all is here? Lars was here first. Twisted Dennis got his comments running. Stand by for action. Phenomenal. Good evening, everyone. Lars and to me. Twisted Dennis is wired up tonight. Wendy English, Indecisive Garage, Tim. Mostly Mopar. Closing in on crossing the finish line on the No Name 500. He was at 460 subs last I saw. I'll be looking for a 500 party with him very soon. Mohawk 62. Turbo Tom is riding roller coasters, Cedar Point, Ohio. Doing that tomorrow. That sounds cool. Cop Car Steve from the Arctic Circle. Glad you're here. Madam Secretary Colleen. This made me chuckle. I saw this before we went live. He said the company that makes engine mounts and lawnmower pulleys also makes GM HEI distributors. Got 2 bag ones in a row today. I can believe that. It wasn't the pulley. It was the sleeve. I borrowed a pulley off of another mower, and I'm going to put one back on that probably here next week. When I do, I'll show you what the problem was. It's something I just never would have thought of. Crazy way that it's made. Lars is here. I think he's lurking, multitasking tonight. Pure Pontiac Garage, Dean Stevenson. He said like 7.5 is in the metaphysical YouTube content creator building. GXEN Empty Nesters, hello. I received a care package from them today. You'll be seeing part of it here in the studio pretty soon. Cool stuff, cool stuff. A lot of fun over there on Thursday nights. The Empire of Rust. Bueno, y'all. One-Eyed Kite says, welcome to Pennsylvania, where it rains 3 to 4 times per day. I'm going to be seeing the One-Eyed Cat here pretty soon, too. Heavens Mopar Scott says, hello, friends. Indirect Connection Jason. That's Heavens Mopar Scott's bouncer. Mean Street Mopar says, what's up, everyone? What's the update with 138 days, 3 hours, 55 minutes to go on your 318 in your truck? Dan, the IT guy, says, what's up, peoples? Howdy. Fun folks over there on Thursdays. Junkyard D says, evening, friends. So cool when I look at these and I realize where everybody here is from, how we all connect in this one spot. And you know, without YouTube and the community, we just never would have done this. I mean, who would think? We got people from different countries. I mean, lots of different states. Just cool. Johnny C., your friend's Malibu is gorgeous. Yes, it's a 67 Chevelle. And he bought that car in October of 1973. So it's a 2-owner car. And he drove it as a daily back in the day, and now it's a garage kept, and it's very nice. He had the engine freshened up once in it about 30 years ago. It's a stock 283, and it's had a respray done on the factory color again a really long time ago. But it's a very nice car, and I've worked on it a few times. I went through the carburetor once, done a few little things, but very, very cool car. And Johnny C, if you don't know, he bought a battery for it at I'm not going to do this story right, but he would love to tell you if he was here. He bought a battery for that car, I want to say, at was it Montgomery Ward back in the day? And it was a lifetime warranty. Paid a lot for it, like $50 way back there, like in the 80s. But it had a lifetime warranty, and he is on the, got to be the 6th, 7th, 8th, maybe even more battery now. And Firestone bought them out, their auto service, and they'd had to honor it. And he takes the same original Dead Sea Scroll looking receipt in there from way back there every time that car's needed a battery. So he has really gotten his money out of the lifetime warranty on batteries for that car. And I'll tell you, it's the fight has been harder to get the warranty every time. They do not like honoring that warranty. It always involves a call to a manager and all this stuff, but he gets it. But yes, it's a very pretty car. Pretty car, drives nicely. I've got a little bit of content with it on my channel, so whenever I see him, we ride the car, I'll who knows, we may even stream while riding it sometime. You never know. He's like Feach Laman at the card game. He'll be, telling jokes, probably, and I'll be driving more than likely. Danny IT guy says we've been stepping up our prize game. Indeed. In fact, I won't spoil it. I might even show some content what I'm doing, but I got my winnings from Thursday night from them. They arrived today, and sent them a thank you. But there's more content to come. I think that was pretty cool. Well, my goodness, look who's in the house. GT Dart 970H. Hello, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for swinging by. I haven't seen you in a while. It is. That's the whole thing. That's what it's for. In fact, he once said it's like people hanging out in the garage and a race breaks out. I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. That's what it should be. Mean Street Mopar running a little tight on the money. Should be able to get it sorted out. Hey, I understand that. Yes, I do. Oh yeah, it's exactly. Without the community, I mean, a live show is nothing without the interactive hosts. I mean, that's the interaction with the hosts and the community. The hosts don't put on any show without all of you guys. That's what we have to have. That's what makes it fun. I got to tell you, and everybody can run their live stream the way they want to and all that. I get that, and everybody has different products. It's cool. But man, I watch these live streams where they have a comment and a chat roll and ignore everything and everyone, and they can do that. But I'm like, what's the point in that? Why even have a chat to just not interact with it? But anyway, that's people can do what they want. Maybe so the chat can interact with itself, but I mean, I like the chat for that reason. Yeah, do the unboxing. Yeah. So I couldn't do a proper unboxing. That said, I'm going to have something you'll see in the studio. So yeah, it's very cool, very thoughtful. They're a lot of fun. R&D is me. Good evening, John and everyone. I'm part of everyone. Yeah, the Englishes are good people. I'll be seeing them soon. Colleen, love the t-shirt I got from GXEN. Cope says Virginia's Supreme Court did the right thing today. And by the way, the same typo was in our Virginia state real estate contract for years, which didn't get by me. I don't know how it got by the people who wrote it. Cop Car Steve said, last week on your live chat, I shot a video of giving my wife some food. Ironically, it was the best short I've ever had. I don't know about that. You can't ever decide which short is good. I was looking at my analytics today. Far and away, the most popular short I've ever put up was synchronized shooting at Thunder Ranch. It was just a little drill we did of some synchronized shooting that they would use in promotional stuff. It was pretty cool. They would have a countdown, and then they'd have the line fire off, and short little video. And man, it's like 4.5 million views. The silly derp gamer hate came all out in the comments. I have no idea why, but 4.5 million views. That silly short's maybe, I think, $358. I mean, you never know. And the thing is, I had that for 7 years. Just on my phone as a video, someone texted me 7 years ago. And it was during the 30 shorts in 30 days we did last year, which is going to be coming up here soon. We're going to be starting for this year. But I needed a short. And I thought, I was kind of combing through old videos because, a lot of the old stuff is just as cool to put up. So I'm like, I'm going to find something old and put up today. Because it was like 10, 11. It was like probably 11 o'clock at night. I wasn't going to film anything. So I scrolled by. I said, that'll be pretty cool. I didn't think it would do anything, though. I put it up, and then I looked back in my studio later just habitually, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? I think it's 4.4 million views on that thing. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. You never can figure out which short is going to go. Yeah, I mean, the chat makes the show, I think. Heavens Mopar Scott says Costco gives you a 1 battery swap out for warranty. Oh, yeah, it's people like Deet are the reason they have that. If he were here, he'd be loving this conversation. Grandma Vic, how we doing? Grandpito Vic, imagine seeing you here too. Hey, so where are we with the LS now? Where does that stand? What kind of progress have you made, man? Andrew Nelson says, good evening from Team Nivlac 57. Hello, sir. Always honored to have you guys watching. I appreciate it. I thank all of you guys for making this show part of your evenings, your Friday evenings with family and everything. And it's about all of you guys. I'm glad to be able to host it. It's really for all of you guys to get together in one spot and chat, really. I'm just hosting it and reading the comments and stuff like that. I have the fun job. Grandpito Vic and Grandma Vic, I'll tell you what, they really embrace the whole community thing. They're all about it, community and family. And I occasionally we'll get people who don't understand the whole point of the community part. They think it's just all about cars. I'm like, oh, no, there's those type of events everywhere. It's like, let's just get trucks and bring them in, leave the owners at home type of events. We're the opposite. But, it's good to see people who get it. So, and I'd like to think I had a lot to do with people. They greet one another when they come in. That's pretty cool. Junkyard D said it's painful to scroll through some of the vertical lives, especially late at night. He said some strange happenings going on there. There's one guy, and I've sent this to Lars while I'm seeing it. I have no idea how he gets in my feed. If Lars could probably find it and post a link. His name is something like McInnes or something. And I think he has 20,000 subs. And he does the strangest streams I have ever seen. It'll be some dude, and he's sitting. It looks like he's sitting in a bathroom. I don't think he's sitting on a toilet. I don't know. Or it could be on the side of a tub. But you hear water running the whole time he's doing the stream. And it's playing behind him. I figure it's like a shower. And he'll have some weird thing on his head, and he's chanting something the whole time. And yet the stream will be flying with people talking with one another. And it just looks completely insane. But that guy's making bank doing that. I have no words for what the first time I saw that, and there's a lot of crazy, bizarre vertical live streams that go on. Larson, $350 is a lot of blue spray paint. It wouldn't be enough to paint one car, I know. Which is for sale as far as I know. Probably asking twice what it's worth, but it's for sale. I see Graham Pito Vic saying, "Congrats, Andrew, on the numbers." Yeah, if you're talking about there's a lot of numbers that the Nelsons have to be proud of. Their channel growth and what their vehicles are running in dyno. And I know that Calvin broke Andrew's dyno personal best. I thought that was pretty cool. So the Nelsons have a lot of numbers to be proud of. Graham Pito Vic says he hasn't. I haven't been able to tough it. I tire one side pistons and pins down. There are gouges in the bushings on the small end of the. I don't know. I'm inclined to think that stuff, clean it up and run it. I think people get a little too obsessed. If they knew what was some of the stuff was in an engine like that that's running and driving every day in their daily drivers, they'd probably worry about it. Unity Motorsports Garage, Andy's here. How's it going? Johnny C says, I watched his Malibu videos a few times. Same year, gold, 6-cylinder automatic, manual top, bought it in 87. Yep, purchased his in 73. That's correct. Deet is 71. So, yeah, he would have bought his. I think he was 18 when he bought his. The blue is my favorite color. Yeah, it's a pretty car. Power glide in it. It's very nice. Danny Atigar says, Danny Atigar, I'm just getting so crazy. Our cars are a good excuse to hang out. Yes. Andrew Nelson says, every Friday when we aren't racing, we go out to eat, watch a few of our favorite channels, and wrap it up with the live. Cool, thank you. They have a nice little lunch spot there in town when I was in town to see the Nelsons. And, Andrew, I should be coming up that weekend, unless something crazy happens. Correct me if I'm wrong, Don. I had to look just to verify, but I believe it's that 22nd, 23rd, 24th May weekend. So it's not the last weekend in May, but the one before. I should be up. I'm going up to see Don and Wendy. And if you guys are available, I wouldn't mind swinging by to maybe do lunch with you guys again. If you're in town, if you're not racing and all that good stuff on Sunday. Just depends what you guys got going on. I'm getting closer to catching up. Kim fixes things, stops by, says, hey, everyone. Hello. Andy is, man, chat's moving quick there for a minute. Couldn't even get caught up. I don't even know where Andy's comment went. He's painting an engine, though. Slant Daily Garage says, what's up, suckers? Professor P is in the house. Guys, be on your best behavior. The one-eyed cat says, correct. Okay, so I was thinking, just off the top of my head, I was thinking so, yeah. So it's that 22nd, 3rd, 4th. He says, we were there tonight. Welcome back. Yeah, I'll be up that weekend doing some stuff with the Dawn. So I'm sure there'll be content come of that. Oh, yeah. Hey, Danny Boyd, check this out. And Danny Boyd, if you want, I think Yeah, either send it to them, or if you don't have their email handy or whatever, I'll hook you up where I can send it to them, because I know I sent Danny Boyd stuff. So just tell me how you want me to handle it. I'm glad to help. Johnny C says you can hear a power glide instantly. Yeah. If that one ever needs any service, I probably will be the one doing it. I've always wanted to do a power glide, and I've never been into one. I mean, I saw one. There's some guys building one when I was at community college, and I saw the internals of it and said, "Man, I think these things are so cool." They got what's called a Ravigno planetary in it. It's different. The planetary gears and the power glide are different how they do that. And I just said, "Man, I want to build one of those. They look so cool." Stovall Farms and Garage Dave Stovall says, "Hello everyone. I'm here for the evening. No working tonight." So, how are things coming with your channel, man? You getting ready to make a move? We're at 138 days, 3 hours, and 38 minutes. And I tell you, the one he did a video I watched, I don't know how many times, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but he had a rowboat in his basement. I just thought that was wild. But yeah, always looking for the No Name 500 to heat up, and we got the shorts challenge coming next month. It'll kick off, so that's a lot of fun. That's always a lot of fun. Yeah, the GXE and Empty Nester says they're live Thursdays at 6:30 Central. This is true. And by the way, if you blush easy, it's not the live stream for you, but it is for a lot of people. So Levi's Backyard Performance. We'll be going to eat, so I'm going to jump out of the live. See y'all next week. Hey, have a good time with friends and family there, Levi. Nothing like having a good meal. I got to take my Aunt Nancy to lunch yesterday. We went to Olive Garden. It's always good to see family like that, and have not done that in quite a while. Dope as Braden says, "Hi from me and Faith." Dope as Braden, what part of the world are you in? Let's say hi to Lone Wrench Mike up hanging around up there. Danny Boyd says power glides have that whirring sound. I just think they're cool. I wish Chrysler had a 2-speed automatic. I'll tell you, the one thing, if Chrysler could have done one thing that they didn't, that I always kind of wish they had. Like, I really like the A-body Chryslers, but I love like a Vega. And the Chevy 2 is a fuzz smaller than a Dart Demon Duster. It's a little bit smaller. The Falcon is a little smaller. The Vega is smaller still. Pinto, of course, is smaller still. I wish that Chrysler, when they did the cars that were that size, the one size smaller than the A-bodies that were still rear-wheel drive, I wish they made them in America, and they were American-made cars instead of getting a Japanese car and doing the badge engineering thing. I just think that would have been so cool. Like if Dodge had actually made the Colt in the 70s instead of the Mitsubishi thing, because then it has all that foreign design language instead of having all that commonality with the American-made cars. It's what just makes it different. I wish they had done that. That would have been really, really cool. I would have loved it if Chrysler had made a car that size themselves. But they did not. And I guess they were ahead of their time, because that's what all the other makes started doing. And I don't think the results have been that good either. I mean, like, look at these European mashups that Ford does. It's just like the worst of both worlds. They're the biggest disaster. I knew somebody that had a restaurant here in town, and they used them for catering trucks. They would get these European Ford little micro vans, and says, "Oh my gosh, they break all the time," and they would break stuff I didn't know could break. It's like electric racking pinion went bad, $1,000. I'm like, yeah, well, you for $1,000, you could, at that time, you could have gotten a good used Dodge van from the telephone company fleet that would have lasted for 30 years. And Calling Tebow puts up the link to Stovall, No Name 500 contender. So there you go. You can check out his channel. If you check it, make sure you check out the rowboat in the basement. I really got a kick out of that one. There you go. Hey, if you have any problem, with that, just let me know. I'm glad to help. He's at 213 subs. Yeah, where in the universe are you? What part of the world are you in, sir? But 213 subs, you're almost halfway there if you want to jump in the No Name 500. Who's in the trunk? That's my friend Jared. We went one day. I can't remember what it was we did on the Chevelle, something, and we took it to this hot dog joint there in Roanoke. And there's the video on the channel. I drove it that day. We had the top down. It was not big. It was cool, but it wasn't cold in December. And we cruised over there because Jared was in for Christmas time. He was serving our country in the military at that time. Danny Boyd, I'm hearing $1,000 for base. Oh, paint is ridiculous. Paint is absurd. Oh, it's crazy for paint. Just for the paint, $1,000. I've seen paint go well over $1,000 a gallon. Well, I remember the first time I heard $1,000 a gallon paint. I thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. There's a lot of paint that's $2,000 a gallon now. Levi said, glad to hear Brooke walked across the stage, Dylan, and believe she has graduated formally. I walked across the stage one time in high school and said, I don't need to do the walking across the stage thing again. So I watched 2 more graduations from the stands. Wanted to be there for my classmates, but I didn't have any need to do that. That's just different. That's cool and different. And at Virginia Tech, when they have graduation, the students who are the Hokie Bird, they can't publicly, interview or anything like that. It's generally kept a secret. Not many people know they're the Hokie Bird, but when they graduate, they wear the shoes, the Hokie Bird feet across the stage. So that's a cool tradition they do. I think that's neat. Dean Stevens said the 2-door Prickett and Colt should have been that cart. 100% agree. If the Colt would have been an American made, that size, that style of bumper and everything like the Vega, I just think that would have been so cool. But no, he wasn't. And again, the Mid-South lowballer, now he probably dissent on this because he likes those Mitsubishi Dodge Challengers from the 80s. And they're cool. I mean, whatever people want to do. But I just wish they had been made here. Grand Pito Vic says he needs to pick up a 320 400 grit dingle ball hone and a new set of rings. Yeah, just a dingle ball hone because see with yours you're just cleaning it up. You don't even need a fixed stone. I mean, you're just cleaning it up, man. Topaz Braden asks Danny Boyd, what's your favorite movie and your favorite, or either that or Dan the IT guy, I don't know which. What's your favorite movie and your favorite food? Well, you get them going on that, Braden. It'll go crazy in here. Oh, that's cool. That gets in one spot. I can do that, and we'll just double check, make sure he's got it. No problem. Danny Boyd, let me know if you want. I can send him your address if you'd like, because I got it saved too, of course. Dean Stevenson, I joined Stovall when he was still liquidated. Dean Stevenson, did you get one of those awesome tasseled hat like the broke layers use? I have my cap and gown from high school from 1994 downstairs in the bag. Yes, I do. And it came with 2 tassels for whatever reason. I don't know why. The one that I wore with the cap and gown, I think is still just on the cap. But the other one, there was 2. The other one I hung up, would have been like right that month. I put on the rearview mirror of my 70 Swinger. It's your favorite season of the year? It's not winter, that's for sure. Lars is on the greenway, trying to get in shape. Well, if you see me on the greenway, that means something's not running anymore. Bring a car hauler. Don't even worry about me. And Colleen puts up the link to the Mid-South Lowballer. He's usually in here. We might see him tonight. Sure, I'll send them your address and double check your email or whatever. I'll help you. In fact, I can probably maybe email both of you and copy both of you and see if that'll work. I don't know. We'll get it figured out. I assure you, Danny Boy does exist. He's a real character. Johnny C says, this guy took a 68 from a rusted hull and transformed it like new. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, we see a lot of those in AI now, unfortunately. Dean says, we have a season you guys don't have, Autumn, named after Autumn Man from The Simpsons. He was a school bus driver. Yeah, they call it autumn rather than the fall there, I believe. I saw a car in the bank parking lot today that had autumn on the license plate. I don't know if that was a name or a season or what, but it stood out to me because it's something you don't hear very often. I see a new thing that StreamYard is doing. I can go back to a comment, but when I put it up, it shades it after it's been put up. That's interesting. There's the Mid-South Lowballer. He's here. He says, I remember the early 80s as such an odd time for the auto industry. He beat the snot out of a Chevy Citation daily and the idea of front-wheel drive. Yeah. So we were talking earlier about your 80s Dodge Challengers thing, but you're exactly right. The 80s was an interesting time. American cars were, yeah, I can see him. Now, he's in here. I didn't see him earlier when I said that. Chat's moving pretty quick. I didn't see him earlier, but yeah, the 80s was an interesting time. American cars were just at a low of quality. I think just the worst in so many regards. It was just the worst. The end of the carburetor era was just as bad as it got, and I think that really helped the imports step it up, and they did in a lot of ways. But even though cars are extremely overcomplicated today, in a lot of ways they do make them a lot better. But whew, those cars from the 80s were bad. Growing up, the car I learned to drive on was an 85 and a half Ford Escort, and it was carbureted. And it got 148,000 miles before it had just zero ring seal, just none. The blow-by was unbelievable from the rings. And it couldn't keep a clutch. I'm partly responsible for probably one or maybe two of those, but it just had a lot of durability problems. And then I look at the CRV, 378,000 miles before anything major happened with it. I've never even put an alternator on that thing. It still has the original water pump on it. So I don't know. But then again, that was, the front wheel drive stuff designed to compete with the imports. On the other hand, I drive that Dodge van daily, and it still has the original 318 904 still in it. I mean, I put a timing chain on it, but that's probably the biggest thing that's ever been done to that van. Drives all the time, and it's an 85 model. So, needs a new carburetor desperately. Mid-South Lowballer says, one channel I watched talked about a Jeep that needed 2 computers to blow the horn. I would never own that. I have zero desire to own anything that modern and complicated with all the screens and the complexity, and no thanks. The CRV is a little too modern, but I mean, I do like the fuel injection on it. And it's got pretty good room to work on things. I was looking under the hood of my aunt's Chrysler Pacifica yesterday, and they have a lot of room to work on stuff under that hood. Very spacious under there. I like that a lot. But man, that early 2000s is starting to get too complicated, but it's nothing like today. Dean Stevens said rear drive Cadillacs had the roller cam 307 Oldsmobile in them in 1990. Yeah, Chrysler's, like their small blocks, well, of course that's all they had then, but their small blocks had the roller cam block beginning in 85, but you could get roller or flat tappets up through 91, I believe. And then in 92 with the Magnum, they were, of course, all roller. But the block would accept either. That transitional time period. Toba's Braden, what Six Flags roller coaster would you guys go on? I don't know what roller coasters are there. I'm not a roller coaster guy. I rode a wooden coaster in California a while back. Turbo Tony, I see he knows. He says SAS and BCM to blow the horn. I guess those are computers. And Don says you couldn't pay me to go to Six Flags. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I don't think you can take dogs to Busch Gardens, but if I could, I would take Jethro. He would love it. What go-kart track would you go to? You're just full auto seeing if you can get the chat going. Last time I was on a go-kart track was in Charlotte. They have a big, fast track down there. I went with some friends to the big spring auto fair, and we went one night and got on the track. Boy, those things are hard to drive. They're hard for me to drive. I know that. They're fast. They are very fast. And we used to have one up the road here about 30, 40 miles, and that was a lot of fun. But it closed down because people would rather do electronic stuff than ride go-karts. Danny Boyd says he hadn't been on a coaster since the 80s. Yeah, I haven't been on one in 20 years. Dizzy Izzy lurking. I saw him earlier. Howdy. Danny Boyd says, I think 2000s cars are easier to work on than 80s cars. Depends. Depends what we're talking about. I mean, the 80s cars might have more rust. The 80s cars, the carburetor system's a disaster. I'll give you all of that. I don't know if Jethro would care about the roller coasters. I don't think he would care at all. I really don't. But if there was like a moped or bicycle or something, he wouldn't like that. Grand Pito Vic says 1991 here. He likes Space Mountain and Thunder Mountain Railroad. They were cool. There's a Ric Flair reference in there. If you know, you know. Turbo Tom says, I'll be at Six Flags over Georgia next Saturday. I ride them all. Laura says his little Civic's creeping up on 300,000. He hadn't done anything to it, but it needs CV axles. Laura, that car's needed CV axles for years. For years, Laura's been telling me, I need to put a CV axle on this thing. I will tell you, though, and I'm not fear-mongering, but I'm telling you this. I saw a video on YouTube one time, and I'm just as guilty of running those things way too long. The guy had an inner CV axle come apart, and it took out the transmission when it did. Broke the transmission case. That said, I have needed an inner CV axle on the CRV for years. When I did the rear wheel bearings in it, I went ahead and put inner boots on the rear axles, but the fronts need CV joints. GXN says our Kia Sorento has 220,000 miles and still running well, folks. There's the Easter egg for Lars there. Danny Boy, 338 on the Corolla. Yeah, a lot of the materials and things they skimp on in cars now for production costs, but like castings are better than ever. A lot of the material that things are made of is better. Like rubber, plastic is better than ever. Grand Pito Vic says, late 90s, I rebuilt so many Honda CV axles when we had our axle business. Really? So tell me, hey, I'm curious about that, Grand Pito Vic. What did you do there? Like when you rebuilt them, what's the process like? Because I just always kind of wondered what they do. We see so many of them being defective. What did you do when you rebuilt them? I would love to know that. Would you still do them? Big Mike, I might actually be buying an 80s car next weekend if the price is right. Auctions are one of my weaknesses. Boy, he an unfinished project. They got the auction people. Dizzy's got 6 quarts of Mopar Crystal Red from 79. What is that? Is that transmission fluid? What is that? Or no, it's never froze. What is that, Dizzy? Left Turn Dodge is in the house. Our latest alumnus of the No Name 500 is here. You're getting ready to have company. Mostly Mopars creeping up there. Lars Civic's in 96. Yeah, 96 is when OBD2 became standard across the board. And I think that was kind of, I didn't really care for what happened after that. Tony B says, even the Chinesium these days is getting better. And well, I don't know. The jury's still out on that for me because I still see a lot of, it might just be because the failures are so much more publicized now than what they used to ever have been. That could be. I don't know. I don't see us ever going back to the kind of manufacturing we ever did here during World War II and thereafter. Grand Pito Vic, we would regrind the ball tracks and put in oversized bearings and cages. Okay, yeah. Well, now let me ask you, when you regrind them, are you getting through the surface hardening? Because I've never had any luck with longevity on one that's ever had that done. I'm just asking. I don't know. Then the CNC machines came and most closed up. I can see that. 330,000 miles on his 04 Suburban. Had to change seals and gaskets to keep the oil in it. It's my new car. Yeah, I hear that. I don't know anything newer than that. Tony B. Howdy. Tony B., how'd you hear about us? Thanks for joining tonight. Danny Boyd said his grandpa had a 76. He let me drive stalled the 4-speed all over the place. I learned to drive on a 4-speed 85.5 Ford Escort. when I learned to drive on. Did my first burnout in that car unintentionally and made Dad laugh pretty good. It's a huge parking lot right behind where we lived at the Bluefield City Park. And there's nothing out there I could possibly hit or get in trouble with. But I was 11 years old, and I learned to drive. But I got it down pretty good. And then years before I had a driver's license, he never said anything about me driving a vehicle around on the college campus. We lived on Bluefield College campuses, and it was 85 acres, but it was all private. And so it's a gray area there, right? It was open to the public. There were cars driving around. I'd hate to think, what might happen if I've been in a wreck, but I completely exploited that. So for years before I had a driver's license when I was 16, I drove around on that college campus. Laura says, gotta run, be back in a few. He probably means that literally. Indirect connection, Jason. Glad you could make it. Are you on the road this weekend, or? Grand Pito, if we had to do more than a light grind and polish, a new CV joint was put on. He's seen companies go 40,000 over, not us. Yeah, I've just like those 90s rebuilt axles from places like Advance were some of the worst I have ever dealt with. I had one also that they sandblasted. So first of all, the cores obviously were just laying in piles outside with heavy rust on them, because when they sandblasted one on the splines, they took so much off of it, the thing would never stay in the transmission C-clip. It was really hard to get out because the clip would kind of try to get between the splines and not just in the groove. It was a mess. So I've just not had much luck at all out of those rebuilt axles like that. But axles in cars now are better than ever, the factory axles. They're so much better than the first couple decades of CV axles, that's for sure. Tony B says, heard about you when Jamie went to 5. Jamie went to 5. What 5 did he go to? We're talking about Dead Dodge, Jamie? Left turn Dodge. I learned to drive on an 8N Ford tractor. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Jamie has a cool show over there on Sunday nights. As far as I know, he's still planning to come to the No Name Nationals again in September. Put on a great show here last year, so looking forward to seeing him again. I do predict that fuel prices will drop in the fall because it is a midterm election year, and for whatever reason, they always just drop on midterm election years. They just do. They always have. I predict they will again. It's not a segue. It's not an invitation to hijack the conversation, but it is to say that I have very good historical precedent to believe that we will get some fuel price relief this summer. We did for the first No Name Nationals when it was sky high, and I do think we'll get that again this year. Internet connection. I don't feel sorry for myself usually, but I'm out of hours in Illinois. So when you're out of hours, that means that you're over your 13 hours a day and you have to be off the road for so many. Is that what you're talking about? Making sure I understand that. That is a good question. Oh, well, first of all, Grand Pito Vix is 30,000 is through the heat treat. 40,000 you're a hack. Less than 10 or we tossed it. Yeah, that seems very reasonable. That seems very reasonable. Stovall Farms and Garage. Learn to drive in a 46 Jeep CJ2A flathead with 3 on the tree. Or not 3 on the tree. I read that wrong. It's a 3-speed on the floor. I'm very familiar with it. My dad had a 54 M38A1. which I only rode in one time because it only ran one time in my lifetime. But that said, yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Tell us on here what you learned to drive on. That'd be pretty neat. I don't think I've ever asked that question before. Yeah, I wouldn't be able. I was going to say, if it's one of these things you're still equipped to do or have the machinery to do, I wouldn't mind bringing you a set of axles to do. Huh. Grand Pito Vic's got 150,000 on the wife's 2018 Kia Soul, and the axles are awesome. I'm waiting for the click, 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 click. Yeah. Well, the click doesn't scare me because the outer will start clicking way before things, you can drive with that outer clicking forever. The inner is the one that scares me because they don't click. They make a big thump, but boy, when they break, it's bad. It's really bad. The outer gives you a lot of a heads up. out of hours, there's levels this yeah. They drop friendly. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So when people get all freaked out about it and act like it's never coming back again, what are we going to do? I'm like, just wait till September. It always comes down time for No Name Nationals. We got that timing just right. I remember, for those of you who don't know, the first No Name Nationals in 2022, we had a guy, and I'm not gonna name him, but people who know. It was more than one, but there was one that was fear mongering the gas prices like you wouldn't believe. He's like, oh, it'll be $10 and $20 a gallon and all this stuff and all this stuff and all this stuff. I took a picture a month before the No Name Nationals. I put it on my community page. Gas got to $1.99 a gallon from close to $4 that year. I expect it will drop again. I'm not saying it'll get to that price again, but I think it will be a lot better than it is now. I don't think it's anything to panic over. GX Empty Nesters learned to drive on an 85 Mazda pickup with a 5-speed. My dad wouldn't let me get my license until I could handle a stick. Well, hardly anything has a manual transmission anymore. Hardly anything. Very few vehicles do. But I learned to drive an 85 Ford Escort. It was 85 and a half. There's some stylistic things where it was a half year, but it manual steering, 4-speed. I drove that car in high school. And I also, later in my senior year, I drove my 70 Swinger, but I was driving the 85 and a half Escort. That was my daily for a couple of years there in high school. Not a couple of years. It would only been my last year. I had a learner's permit my junior year, but I graduated early, so I didn't drive the whole time or even half the time I was in high school. I only drove to school that last year. So clarify that. So the whole time is the whole time I was driving, not the whole time I was in high school. I certainly couldn't do that. Indirect connection is he drove 11, left Carthage, Texas. I'm in Williamsville, Illinois now. It's been a long day for you. Turbo Tom learned on a 73 Ford Pinto wagon 4-speed manual. Oh, that's a neat car. Dizzy says 68 Volkswagen Bug squareback. So it's not a Bug. It's a Type 3, a squareback, right? That sounds really cool, though. That'd still be air-cooled. Those are neat cars. And tan, like Ted Bundy's. His was tan. Almost the same year, but a different body style. Danny Boy, first car driven Oldsmobile, first car owned Oldsmobile. Once another. You can do it. One-Eyed Cat learned in Buffalo Brian's 68 VW Beetle. He'd only charge $1 every time we stalled it. I'd have been broke. Mostly Mopar says, my great uncle gave my brother and myself a 65 Impala when I was 11. Dad took it to our farm and turned us loose. Left turn Dodge, when gas gets over $4.50, people stop buying it. Demand goes way down and price follows. People are going to buy it as necessity, but they stop buying it, unnecessarily when it gets up there. I'm telling you, it takes a C note to fill that van up. I mean, from a quarter tank, it was $104 yesterday. It's $4.19 a gallon gas is no fun. Mid-South lowball will learn by buying a stick and driving it off the lot. Well, I'm sure that'll work. I wonder what percentage of people today even learn how to drive one. I know that percentage has plummeted, every year, but I mean, when I was a kid, I tell you, when I was a kid, I bet you only half the kids could drive one. And that was then. That was the early 90s. Now it's, oh my gosh. I wonder what percentage of 16-year-old, well, first of all, what percentage of 16-year-olds even have a driver's license? That's a whole other conversation. Kids don't even want to get driver's license anymore. They don't care. But I wonder what percent of 16-year-olds can drive a manual transmission. I'd love to actually know that. Mohawk learned how to drive in my great-grandmother's 78 Ford Fairmont wagon on loose gravel roads in northwest Illinois. Car was brand new, and she said it's under warranty, but don't wreck it. A lot of cool cars that we come to recognize as classics that were just cars back then. Dan the IT guy says 72 Ford Pinto wagon, 4-cylinder, 4-speed. And a Dodge Ram minivan with a Dodge Ram minivan. It shouldn't be a Ram minivan. Was it a minivan or a Ram van? Because the full size is the Ram van. That's what mine is. It would have been a pretty new minivan, too. Although the minivan, Chrysler was first with the minivan in 84. Fall of 83 for 84 model year. And it was one of the very first vehicles to ever have a cup holder. Fun fact. One Eye, who is older? Well, he and Wrong are the same age. Brian is I believe, older. Big Mike said he learned to drive in a 63 Chevy pickup with a 230 straight 6 and granny 4-speed. That sounds like what Big Mike would be riding around in today. Chris 103 Customs. Hello. Glad you could make it. Just love this this lifted van on what looks like Gumbo Mutters or TSLs here. That's cool. What is that? About a 75-ish Chevrolet? I like that. My neighbor, when I lived at Bluefield College, had a 75 Chevy van that was lime green with white wagon spoke wheels. Really nice, low mileage van. And got sideswiped at an intersection. It's probably the end of it. But he drove it for a while after the wreck. I don't know what happened to it, but it was a low mileage van. It's a nice one. Dizzy, I'm not sure what you're saying here. ID Dodge broke built Ford's complete frame and drivetrain in 04. What is that? Buff said first car he drove was a 57 Ford wagon, 292 Y block, 3 on the column with overdrive. 3 on the column with overdrive. Tell us about that. I'm unfamiliar. Lincoln Continental, Wendy learned to drive on. Big old boat, Lincoln Continental. I saw on TV an early 70s Lincoln. I thought that was cool. 2-door. Those are good looking cars. Brian is 2 years older and Dawn is older than Ron by 10 minutes. Yeah, I knew it's about what I was thinking. Cultured Redneck Cow. First for me tonight, I'm actually able to join in for an hour listening while on the elliptical. Well, have fun on the elliptical. I'll tell y'all something you would never have guessed. Lars said he was out for a run. I said, hey, man, you should try the elliptical sometime because, you all know that I'm the last person you would expect to like to get on the elliptical. runner thing, right? But back in the day, I used to get on that elliptical and just run for an hour at a time. I loved it. I haven't done it in years, of course, but I like the elliptical. Lars tried it out. He's like, "Oh man, that thing's no joke." I said, "Yeah, it's just different. It's hard to get used to. Once you do, they're great, but that first getting used to the elliptical, they are so awkward." How many times did it take you getting on the elliptical before you decided you liked it versus hated it, Kyle? Left turn dodge. I have a 60-mile commute and get 12 miles per gallon. I spent 100 twice this week. Oh gosh, don't tell me that. Oh. Yeah, the fuel prices have me just cringing. Dope's Braden says, if I decided to go with a manual, I would blow a transmission. Yeah. Well, the clutch usually goes first. Indirect connection gas was $3.89 in parts of Texas. Here in Illinois, $5. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, you're saying gas. The diesel's $5 here. I cringe. Think, how much is diesel where you are right now? Turbo Tom says, none of my kids can drive a stick. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I don't drive a manual transmission that often anymore, but when I do, I never even think about it. I get in it and just drive it like I always have. I can go a year without driving one or two and then getting one and just drive it like I always did. It's just never a thing. I don't know. It's one of those things I guess it's like a bicycle or something. I don't know. Unfinished Project says, I remember sitting in my dad's lap driving an international semi, no power steering and a 54-foot trailer. The steering wheel was so big my arms were completely stretched out. That's neat. All apologies to Cleves McFadden. I don't know what you're talking about, but all apologies to him. The haters just never seem to get shut up. They burn out and go away eventually, but they're always replaced by new haters. So whatever. Armstrong power steering. The original minivan. Yep. Yep, the original minivan. There was one that was that old back behind my office years ago. Not that many years ago, 10 years ago. But it was I always kind of liked the weird stacked headlight grill in the Dodge Caravan the first few years, like 84. It was weird looking. I think they only did that maybe one year. It was a stacked rectangular headlights in the Caravan grill. Colleen says, first car I drove was my mom's 65 Barracuda. I was 5 on her lap. Yeah, I never did anything like that. Now, Dad, when I was a real little kid, Dad would let me shift gears to the passenger seat. He would say, okay, I push the clutch in, you shift. He'd show me how and all that. But by the time I was 11, I was just in the seat and driving. Turbo Tom says, my oldest daughter can drive the Model T. Rapid Transit J popping in to say hi. He's sitting at a Milwaukee Brewers game. Well, enjoy the game. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining us. It's getting to be that season, isn't it? It's very nice weather. It's a little cold this morning. I didn't care for it. So Jethro and I waited till the afternoon to do our afternoon walk. Left turn dodges, they're going to lose. That's nice. Lumpy's here. He says hello. Howdy, Lumpy. So where does Lumpy come from? Because when I hear Lumpy, I always think of the kid on Leave It to Beaver. I think of that Lumpy. As usual, I have no idea what Dean Stevenson is talking about. He says September of 82. I have no idea, but probably not. Grand Pito Vic's got family over, says have a good night. Hey, man, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Jay is saying they will not lose. Okay, well, we'll find out. Hey, Jay, what inning is it? If it's late inning and we're still live, if we're still live, when you're 8.5 or 9 innings in, let us know. Yeah, I'm assuming it's a home game, so let us know what it takes, and we'll be waiting. Heavens Mopar says, I learned in Dad's 66 Toyota Land Cruiser pickup. It was his dad's. Grandpa's the original owner. Dad stopped at a four-way stop in town and told me to drive home. Cars behind me began honking. First time ever to marry. Boy, he didn't give you an easy task, did he? Chris 103 Customs. I will run a World War II half track if need be. No synchro, double clutch. Made a mistake and drove up hills on the road the way back to car show and four-wheel drive low. Very low gears. Got it done. I think we've all done the four-wheel drive low thing once, or at least in four-wheel driving we shouldn't have. Okay, so they were using the Ram moniker that first year. Yeah, because they were differentiating it with the full-size van. That's interesting. That's cool trivia. So they were using the Ram, the mini Ram. Okay, yeah. That would have been 84, yep. Which I believe there was an 84. I don't know if it was a Caravan or a Plymouth Voyager, but there was one of those in the opening credits the first season of The Cosby Show. I remember seeing it. And it was very novel. I think I actually saw it there before I even saw one in the wild, because that was, the hip show, with the upper middle class, urban family with the new minivan, right? The Huxtables didn't have a station wagon like everyone before them. They had the new minivan. So I think that's where I remember seeing one. You can see it in the opening credits. They're getting out of the side. That's a real just horrible crying shame with the whole thing with Bill Cosby, because that was actually a really good show. I like the Cosby Show. Chris 103 Custom says the black van was originally a stick, 435 with a 205 case. Yes, I like both of those. I like that transmission and I like that transfer case. Novus Braden says my first car was a 2002 Honda Accord. I think it was bulletproof. Those were excellent. Mostly Mopar. There is no fun to be found on an elliptical. Okay. How many times did you get on one? Because I told my friend Lars, it takes, you've got to commit to it, and it's horrible the first few times because it's so unnatural. It feels so weird, and it wears you out in a very short amount of time. You got to break through that till you get used to it. If you do that, it's great. You can stay on that thing and just ride, but you got to break through that. They are awful to start out on, though. Indirect Connection says the mini Ram was the work van version. They didn't usually have seats. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realize they were using Ram on it the first year. That's cool. Yeah, diesel 619 there. Yep, exactly. It's awful. Left Turn Dodge said it was my own choice. I bought this truck the day after I got my 500, but I had to make a fast decision. Yeah, I think it's a good time to buy a diesel, because that it's where you might get a deal. Maybe is when the prices are so crazy, and I was telling people that when the housing market crashed, it's a good time to buy, and they're like, "Oh no, don't buy a house, don't buy a house," and it doubled since or more. Cultured Redneck Garage says, I started loving the elliptical after the second or third time. Way easier on my knees at a steady 4.3 miles an hour. See, I'm completely agreeing with that. You're exactly right. You are exactly right. $5.99 for 93 octane super. What is super there? Danny IT guy says we had seats in ours and a window behind the driver's seat. Okay. $5 for diesel by me, $4.99. Where is that? What part of the country? What state? Wisconsin. Okay. So you're up there with the Rapid Transit gang up there. An Indirect Connection, Left Turn Dodge, those folks. Scrap diesel available at McDonald's. No, I'll tell you, I really like the idea that I wanted to do a greasel back when gas got so crazy high before, but you don't have as good a line on that cooking grease as more people have done it, and there's value in it, and they have good disposal things for it now. So it's not like it used to be. Used to be they wanted anybody to take it off their hands. Buff says the overdrive back then was a planetary off the back of the transmission, had a T-handle under the dash, 0.7 to 1. Yeah, sounds great. Sounds right on. Unfinished Project says, and Buff, so your overdrive, if it was a T-handle and it was a planetary, then technically it was also a gear splitter, was it not? Couldn't you run it that way? I would think. Unfinished Project says non-ethanol is $5.30 a gallon at the Tiger Mart. Unfinished Project's fuel up spot of choice. Indirect Connection says, when Tanya's van broke, I did the right thing and bought new tires for the Belvedere. She's driving my truck. I hate working on new crap. Count on Jason to tell it like it is. Yeah. I used to repair 292 Y block valve trains for neighbor farmers. Oil galley would plug, and I had to rebuild rocker arms a lot. Made a regular business out of it. Okay. Braden says, if you work at an appetizer plant where they have oil and get rid of their dirty oil, you can turn that to diesel. Yeah. Is it a run on vegetable? Yes, it will. Most people just have a little small diesel tank to start it on, let it get up to temperature, then they switch over to the vegetable oil. Yep, that's called a greasel. I really wanted to do one back when gas got, $4.50 a gallon, back about whenever the big market crash was. And I thought about doing it then, and I'll tell you, it's killing me now. This is not the time to be driving a 16 mile per gallon vehicle. Rapid Transit Jason, I paid 16. A little moth. Where'd he get in here? You see that? He says, yeah. Huh. I paid $6.50 for diesel on 65 in Indiana this week for a work trip. Well, hopefully being a work trip, work was paying for it. Mid-South Lowballer says, the only problem I have switching from manual to auto is I keep searching for the clutch, but eventually I can retrain myself, I guess. Man, when I drove a manual every day and got in an automatic occasionally, I did that all the time. My mom would laugh about it. I'd be coming to a stop in her car, and I would pick my left foot up off the floor and just realize there's no clutch pedal. I just did it all the time. And sometimes I would reach over toward the shifter for just no reason because I'm just used to needing to shift. I realized I didn't. It was hard for me to go from – it's easy to go from automatic to manual for some reason because the car can't let you forget you need to shift. But going the other way is weird and harder for some reason. Danny Boyce says the first thing I drove was a Springfield lawn tractor. Indirect Connection says Indiana has the highest price I've seen anywhere. If Cope is lurking, what is gas up in northern Indiana and northwest Indiana right now? Wendy says gas is $4.39, diesel's $5.79. I saw $4.39 at one station yesterday, but most places it's between $4.11 and $4.19 for regular unleaded. Dan, the IT guy, had a 72 Pinto, sold it and bought a 71 four-door Dart Swinger with a 318. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. The peg leg burnout master. I like that. I like that a lot. Sounds like a wonderful daily. Big Mike taught all my kids how to drive a manual before I would let them drive an automatic. They're all proficient. I would let them learn on an automatic, but the problem with that is they won't voluntarily want to learn the manual. But For the very same reason I advocate letting youngsters learn on like a Ruger 1022 that's semi-auto before you introduce having something with an action you have to manually operate. It's kind of the same thing. But that said, you just want them to want to learn. Braden says the Milwaukee Brewers beating the Yankees 5-0 at home. The Brewers are in Milwaukee. Okay. Well, hopefully Jay's going to report back. What inning are we in there, Braden? Yes, from Leave It to Beaver. I think his real name was Clarence. Yeah, see, I recognize that. Danny Artigas says 4 Low was fun. Yes, it is. I like it for doing descents on steep hills. Cultured Redneck Kyle says, I learned at 12 in a 70s Datsun pickup with a stick shift. Dad told me I had to learn to drive the stick in case I had a heart attack, and in case he had a heart attack and needed to get me help. Makes sense. There's so much of that, though, that people should learn how to do, because you can't learn an emergency skill at the time of the emergency. You either do it proactively or you don't have it at that moment. That's true of everything. You take CPR before you need to do it, right? Everything's like that. You have a fire extinguisher before you have a fire. I still don't know what Dean's talking about. Automan 1983 release date. Mohawk says, after learning to drive an old Mac twin stick, I'm now confident to drive any manual. Those are cool. I've only seen people driving them on videos, but it's weird. It's basically a big gear splitter. It's a wild arrangement. But it's obvious why they do it. They do it so your transmission isn't 10 feet long. I see why they do it, or did it. But from what I hear, all the big rigs are going automatic now too. Mostly Mopar says, I didn't get past the horrible part of the elliptical. Yes, the learning curve is horrible. It definitely is. You got to stick it out, though. Once you get used to it, you're good. You can stay on that thing, or you can run on one for hours. Left Turn Dodge bought, I'm assuming gas. I have 2 diesels to sell, but no rush. It's good. Michael Schmidt stopping by to see what's shaking. Well, you see it. You see it. It's just a freewheeling Friday night in early May. Danny IT guy says elliptical takes a long time to get used to, but once you get it down, it's a great workout with low impact. I agree. I think it usually takes about your 3rd time in earnest to start getting used to it. I really like it, though. I'm sure if I got on one now, it would be like learning it all over again. Although I've been walking, we walk the neighborhood, Jethro and I do. My knee's probably 90 to 95% better on any given day. It still reminds me it's not 100%, probably never will be, but it's a lot better. So Jethro and I usually do, it's close to a mile up to the neighborhood playground and back. We do that every day. That's all the walk he can do. He can't do any more than that. I would do a couple miles, but for him, that's it. So we got a regular routine. We go up to the playground, and I tether him there on the bench, and he loves it when there's little kids there to hang out with. Jethro loves kids. He's real good with kids. And sometimes he gets up on the playground equipment too. But we stop there and let him rest a little while, because he does better on the walk back if I do. That's a pretty good walk for a dog that size, but he loves it. And of course, the way he walks it really is a mile, because he's everywhere. Mexican Spec was out of town, bought a 99 Dodge Ram Charger for a client. It's always wild seeing the years and names and everything with the Mexican market vehicles. It's different. Indirect Connection 1, I've driven this truck 12,400 miles in the last 4 weeks. I'm shocked it hasn't had a DPF issue yet. I'll stick with gas for my vehicles. Oh, that will be that is a lot of driving. Gosh, that's a lot of driving. Max Wedge, Dick Dastardly is here. Hello. Glad you could make it by. Dope as Braden says, gas and diesel so expensive here in Wisconsin. So is living, and the food prices are ridiculous. Well, everything is higher. The value's been kicked out from under our money, so everything is higher. Then gas and diesel have the complication of the petroleum market on top of just general inflation. It's just awful. Mexican Specs plugging his live. He'll be live most of the day tomorrow while driving across Mexico. Wow, that's cool. Chance to see some of a different place for most of us. Heavens Mo Parsons, millionaires are made when the economy was hard. Buy low, wait till it bounces back, and then sell. You all have to have the capital to buy low. I mean, right? Although I saw a lot of money to be made when the real estate market fell apart. I sure did. Indirect Connection said the Ford Y block starved the top ends. Ford decided the FE should get all the oil to the top first. Yeah. Ford had some weirdness going on there. They are known for those oiling problems, both of those. Blue Collar Nate comes here out of nowhere and says, I had a 72 Pinto once. How's it going, sir? Thanks for joining us. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly says, after working on the strip mine for 20 years, I don't care if I ever have a diesel. Well, that's understandable. Michael Schmidt said, Uncle Tony finally had a video I could connect with. He mentioned an investor that owned many famous automotive subsidiaries just filed Chapter 7, Autolite, Cardone, Carter. Yeah. That did. That's been topical. Buff says there's a crosswise passage in a Y block, heads that get clogged up when people don't change the oil. It gave the engine a bad name. Mine never clogged. I'm assuming the 312 does the same. I don't guess there's much difference between a 292 and a 312. Mohawk said, how many of us hit the brake pedal hard thinking it was the clutch? I sent my date into the dash. Went from a 4-speed to her auto. Yeah, everybody's done that. Especially if you got big feet and a car that has the narrow pedal space. That's the worst part for me of driving a VW Beetle is those narrow spaced pedals. I got big wide feet and I can't keep off of that. Yeah, I've done that. In fact, driving a Beetle, I find myself anchoring my left foot hard to the left to try to keep from doing that. That's the worst part of driving a Beetle to me. I don't have a problem with the knee room or anything. The people put the package trays in there. I think those are nuts. They're just something to bang your shins on constantly. I can't stand them. They look great, but they're just so impractical. But that pedal spacing is the worst. Because you get out of that and then get in the pickup truck where the pedals are spaced much better. I was like, oh, this is so much better. In Dad's Jeep, they're fine. I never have a problem with it. But the Beetle and some of these small cars, it's so hard. In fact, what I would probably do, like that dune buggy I looked at, I really wanted to buy, and I kind of shot myself in the foot post of that short because that sold that for that guy. A guy sold my short. He saw my short in Pennsylvania, rushed down and bought it, then said, hey, thanks for posting the short. I just bought it. I'm like, I probably would have bought that car. But if I did, I would probably make a custom clutch pedal that's wider just for my foot, probably. Old McDonald said, I have a similar issue when the wife's driving. There's no brake pedal on the passenger side, like a driver's ed car. Yeah, I had my fill of that yesterday. Mexican Spec also had a 72 Pinto, but his had the 1600cc engine. That's the that overhead cam, that little, is that 2.3 is 23. So it was smaller than that. So I guess it was a smaller version. Left turn Dodge, never had a Pinto. Bad enough, I have to admit, my first car was a Mercury. What kind of Mercury? Yeah, Lars is asking if that Pinto with blue collar performance is burnt tires. Well, if he owned it, you know it did. Andrew says, calling tonight. Busy day tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Good night, sir. Good to see you in here. Thanks for joining us. Dean said, should everyone learn with a blunderbuss first so they can counteract shot spread? No. But everybody who learns, I think a shotgun is kind of the last in your hierarchy of learning. I think for youngsters, starting on a rifle, like a semi-auto rifle, like a 1022 is ideal. But for adults, I say start with the pistol. And then from the pistol, you progress to the rifle. And then from the rifle, you progress to the shotgun. Because the shotgun is really a thinking man's firearm, because it takes a lot more up here to run the shotgun, I think. I got my reasons for that progression of training. Kerosene Cucumber says, hi, everyone. That could possibly be my favorite episode of Andy Griffith, the Kerosene Cucumbers. If you've not seen that, you should. I don't know if those are available on YouTube or not, but I saw all kinds of episodes of that growing up. I love it. Indirect Connections said, my dad built FEs for his race car. He drilled and tapped the oil feed to the heads and used jets from a carb to get oil to the bottom end. Okay. Buff said, manual or automatic? No, my grandkids want to get in the back seat and tell the car where they want to go. You know, the self-driving car stuff, I know, is going to progress, and I sure hope I'm dead and gone before that becomes a normal thing. But I'm thinking that we're going to see automation, on the roads sooner than we want, I think. Yeah, Mac twin stick was over 6 feet long. Exactly. That transmission was huge as it was. Could you imagine if you didn't run that setup? Max Wedge Dick Dasher says, 63 Ford four-wheel drive. When I was 9 years old, he learned to drive. Got to haul the horse crap out of the barn. I was the person who did the shoveling. Yeah, character building stuff, I reckon, right? Aren't the 84 cars released in the fall? John Wilburn, Auto Man is autumn. October, I believe it was 83. I'm not sure of the month, but it was 83 is when I know the 84 cars, because of that Dodge minivan was such a big deal that year. Heavens Mopar says regular gas is $5.19 in Washington, $1 more for diesel. A lot of people drive over to Idaho to save $1 a gallon. Okay. Well, I mean, a lot of people, you've got to be on the border or it makes no sense at all, unless you have a tanker truck or something. There we go. Top of the 6th. Brewers are leading 5-0. Okay, so you still got some ball to play. Dizzy would shift those max 2,000 RPM, don't touch the clutch. Yeah, I've ridden in some trucks that size. I've seen how it's done. It's just kind of wild to me. Twin sticks were 2 transmissions, yes. The main was a 4 or 5 with a 2 or 3 speed brownie behind. Right. So you could run a splitter type arrangement. Racer Ray, good evening, folks. 139 days. I better get started. It's coming fast. I'm telling you. It's coming fast. Left turn Dodge changed them. It was all one box. Dope as Braden. Who is taking the NBA? How many people in here even watch NBA basketball? I like going in the winter to a Virginia Tech basketball game here or there, but that's it. Mohawk says, it seems most kids nowadays don't care if they learn to drive or not. When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to drive. Yeah, me too. It was a generational thing. Mohawk and I represent two ends of Generation X, but yeah, our generation both loved it. No slide for Jethro. That is correct. He would not go down the slide. How am I this far behind? I am. I got to catch up. We got a lot of comments tonight. I'm gonna catch up. I just realized my timestamps were that far behind. That's what Dallas does. What we give him a hard time for that. Here I am doing it too. Dean Stevenson likes how the pedals grow out of the floor in the Beetle. Yes, they do. On your VW pedal problem, I went to a hydraulic clutch and brake helped on the spacing. Yeah, I can see that. Might be a thing. Max Wedge's ex never had an automatic. She left my car in neutral when she came in the bar. She didn't know you had to put it in park. Okay. Michael Schmidt knows a Y block specialist in California. Cool. Dust Devil Garage says, howdy, howdy. Hello, Brian. Max Wedge has a buddy that works for a power company. A woman said she was going to take out all the light bulbs and leave the switches on and run the power company out of electricity. Just wow. Just wow. I have so many words and none I can say here. Colleen loves clutchless shifting. It freaks people out. Well, the Jeep practically is clutchless because it has just no pressure plate. I gotta look. I think it's actually in the plate itself. I don't remember now. It's been so long, but the Jeep has no clutch pedal travel at all. It's very hard to drive. Evans Mopar says, I've shot the rifle first. Every time I've shot throughout my life, I had the opportunity to shoot handgun, couldn't hit anything. It's called training. And it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. I will show this because I believe I have the appropriate pictures for it right here. In fact, I do. I was talking with our friend Lunar Outlaw today. Lunar Outlaw, inventor of the Carb Buddy, we got a link discount code if you want one for No Name Nationals, folks. He was telling me, we're talking about guns and other stuff. Good. This is the one that's redacted, so I can show it on here. So when I used to teach training classes at the local gun store here, which I won't name, but I used to teach at a local gun store. I had my own classroom. It was great. I just loved it. They would also get me to test fire stuff that came in sometimes. And this one, a guy said that he bought this Smith & Wesson Shield and it was shooting all over the place. There's something wrong. It needs to go back to Smith & Wesson. It's got problems. So he brought this in. Brand new Smith & Wesson Shield. And it says on the tag there, it's an M&P Shield. This is in February of 2019. He said, gun has been fully adjusted to the right and still shooting far left. So those who know what that is, know what's wrong with that. Anyway, the customer supplied a target. This is his evidence. This is 7 yards from supported on a bench. 7 yards. So I got a message, and I saw all this when I got there. They said, "Hey, when you come in sometimes, I was in there a few times a week. Said, hey, when you come in there, we got something we want you to test fire." So I went out and made a pattern with it, 7 yards unsupported, and I did what I shouldn't have done for a test fire with this. I chased the first round watching endpoint, and I should have done that. I should have just made a group and then diagnosed it. So this is moving the sights for the first one, finishing the mag with the rest. This is what it did. Because as we thought, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the gun. It was the owner. So if you notice, he adjusted the sights way to the right and up because he was shooting low and left. And so when I shot it, it made a group up and right. So what they did is they adjusted the sights back to the factory space and said that firearm is now fixed. Sights have been adjusted back to factory position. Says to correct problem, fix the shooter, and they stapled one of my flyers on the invoice and didn't charge him anything. And to his credit, he did come and take a class, and we got him a lot better. He got a lot better, in the class. His wife still outshot him, but he shot much better. He made a lot of improvement. So good for him. Good for him. I think he was relieved to know there wasn't anything wrong with the gun, but most of the Mopar says a car used to mean freedom to young people. Now they just need Wi-Fi. Exactly. When I was 13 years old, I had a calendar with trucks on it on my wall up above my bed, and the calendar had when I was 13, and it had how many days until I got my driver's license. I think I started tracking it when I was about 1,000 days out, and I knew on there how many days until my 16th birthday. And then when it was actually my 16th birthday in 1993, there was a little snafu with the DMV with something. I can't remember what it was. And I thought, well, I don't get to take my license on my 16th birthday. Not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. But they got it worked out. I can't remember what it was. Some technical problem with them. But my dad picked me up from school that day, and I had just enough time to get over there before they closed to take my license test on my birthday. And I took it and passed, no problem. And one thing he chastised me on was like the order in which I checked my mirrors before backing out of the space at the DMV. Oh, there's that moth again. There he is. What are you doing? I don't know what he's doing in here. I left doors and windows open today, so I got critters in here. But anyway, yeah, all right, you got to move. Got to move so I can move live. But yeah, I took on my 16th birthday in an 89 Hyundai Excel. Dizzy says, got my first barbecue gun at 7. Daisy lever action, spring action. I heard barbecue guns were what, like the fancy stuff people wear, like the polished up 1911 or whatever. Of course, barbecue is a meat, and only people from up north call a cookout a barbecue. Blue Collar had a 72 wagon with an LS Clayton. Yes. And if you want to see some legendary burnout footage of that car, Nate, you're talking about the one that you had, the blue one that you had in the burnout competition, the 3rd annual No Name Nationals, or the 2nd annual. Yeah, check that out. Rowdy little car. I miss it. I miss seeing it on the channel. Dizzy said went through a gun safety course and used that card to hunt in Colorado. Yep, I took hunter safety at 11 years old. Yes, I did. 21 feet is not that far at all. 21 feet is actually a well-known distance that people teach within for pistol craft, because that's considered the amount of time it takes a person to close and the amount of time it takes a person to draw. The amount of distance a person can close on foot on average, and the amount of time it takes to draw and aim two well-aimed shots in the same amount of time. So that's why that's a number for used in pistol craft. But 21 feet is more than I need, for teaching a good pistol class. Clayton says, my 75 Pinto has a stroke 302, and the Bobcat's a bit crazy. It has a solid roller 425 Oldsmobile. I'm hoping that you'll bring something out to the No Name Nationals. We want to see it. At least he didn't have a negligent charge, young Wilbur. Well, at least he did not. We've had, I only had one real memorable one in class. Nothing happened. I had a student, of course, doing what we did not teach him to do, finger on the trigger, pulls it back here and looks at his pistol and shoots around and torches it over the top of the berm. Fortunately, a bunch of woods and everything behind, no harm, no foul, but we had a really, really good safety record teaching there. Never had any real problems at all. Racer Races, I started with counting the days down early, talking about me. Yeah, well, I don't know about early. I mean, you guys want as much notice as you can get, right? We gave you 308 days this year, I think, notice. Max Wage Dick Dashley says, my buddy told his wife to go take $400 out of the Mac machine. Kelly came back with 100. She had to keep getting back in line. It said only in $10 increments. Oh, my gosh. Dakota says dad had him shooting guns as soon as he was able. Yeah. Unfinished Project puts up the link. He sent me this today. 62 Fury with AHRA Heritage on Facebook. What a cool ride. It's worth checking out just to look at. It's a neat car. Here's a link to Blue Collar's LS Pinto right here. Lars puts up. I know that I got some video of that car with the turbo as orange as this sign back here in the burnout pit at No Name Nationals. Counting down for your driver's license. Yes, I did. I mean, I kind of lost track of it. I didn't keep the days every day until it, but I did start counting up when I was about 13. Because I like cars, my entire life I've always loved cars. So of course, the driver's license had an extra special fascination with me. Max Wedge Dick Dasherly, he knows someone who shot himself in the foot trying to scare someone off. He shot into the ground and hit his foot and lost his toe. Well, I mean, that's just, he did something stupid. He played stupid games and won stupid prizes. So there you go. Wendy, I'll have to show you mine I have trouble with when you come up. A pistol with problems. 62 Fury is even the right color. It is white. Yes. It's a slick looking car. You guys ought to see it. Check that link out if you get a chance. Blue Collar says the T is showing real promise as a burnout car if we can get it to stop blowing up. I can understand that. You guys had a little meltdown with it recently, but it will be back. It only count to 19. Oh, that's terrible. No, I wouldn't want anybody to get hurt, but I'm telling you, that's dangerous. I had a student one time who was he was unintentionally reckless just because he'd been shooting untrained for so long. Finger on the trigger, just he would shoot before the last shot leaves the barrel. He's dropping the pistol down, just hanging it right down his foot with that finger on the trigger. Scared me to death. People like that, I try to get close to them on their right side to move them over a little so they're so close to the barrel they can't do that. We learn these tricks trying to protect people from sometimes in those classes. Mohawk said, Dad enrolled me in a gun and rifle class when I was 12. At 14, I was working at the local skeet range, setting traps in one of four concrete bunkers. Dangerous job, but it paid good. Okay. So did he just take the attitude of if that one gets blown up, I'll make another one? Is that what he said? Dakota was trying to shoot an armadillo at 20 to 30 yards with my .45 revolver. I don't think I got him. Why in the world were you trying to shoot an armadillo? What did it do to you? The armadillo is branched out. You now see them in places you didn't used to. We'll start seeing them around here eventually. Yeah, can you eat armadillo? Unfinished Project asks. I can't imagine anybody would want to, but yeah, I don't kill any animals. That's just me. I assure you their vest is not bulletproof, Dean. Yeah, Don wants to know if you can. I wouldn't. They make a good helmet. No, they don't. People, I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm sure they yard and everything. Exactly. We keep our yard very tidy. Dakota's got what percentage of your yard is grass and what percentage of your yard is iron, Dakota? If you had to put a percent on it, tell us. Blue Collar Nate, you could eat anything unfinished project. The consequences may be another situation. This is true. Yeah, you can eat broken glass for that matter. Max Wedge Dick Dasher to quit hunting with a friend. There's a shotgun in the car on the way there, and he didn't believe in safeties. Yeah, I don't like being around dangerous people with firearms. I know some people who are just absolutely reckless, and they don't really even realize that they've never had training, and they just handle guns just as recklessly as can be. The worst I've ever seen it, in my life, was Killabee. I was working a booth for the Virginia Citizens Defense League at a gun show in Bluefield. I have been muzzled more times at that show than anywhere. It is unbelievable. The just complete reckless, oblivious recklessness with which those people handle firearms. It is unreal. Says armadillos supposedly carry leprosy. Don't know if I would risk it. I got a leper colony story, but I won't tell it here. Unfinished project. My gun doesn't have a safety. What is it? People say a lot don't have a safety, but they do. Dakota says the front yard is 80-20% grass. The backyard is lighter. That sounds all right. And if you want to see that, at least as of a few years ago, I got a video with Dakota and Hunter, and I timed Dakota out in person in that video. You can see it on my channel. The thumbnail is a Ford 8N tractor with a flathead V8. You guys want to see that? It's cool. Got Dakota, Hunter, and his old man's in there too. I say his old man. I'm actually, I believe I'm a year older than his old man. Dizzy said, brother and buddy were running a trot line, 150-pound alligator turtle on, tried climbing in the boat. His buddy shot 5 holes in the boat. Oh my gosh, what a mess. Guns and rifles are different. Every Marine knows. Yes, we do. Marine know that too. Dakota says, Dad's getting 3 Mustangs this weekend. Well, there you go. You'll get rid of the rest of that yard. You got to get rid of the rest of that 20% grass. You know what it is. I can't think off the top of my head. Mohawk said, if a clay pigeon broke coming out of the bunker, the buttheads would shoot the back of the bunker. Yeah, like they're going to catch it before it breaks. Yes. You saw a kid lose a chunk of his arm from the rail on the swing arm. Yeah, that was more dangerous than the people shooting. Yeah. Wow. Dizzy said, it is true armadillos carry leprosy. Well, there you go. Dizzy, did you eat one that had leprosy? Do you have an immunity to it? Yeah, I like an external safety on a long gun because you carry them slung, not holstered. I do not like an external safety on a handgun. This is a Mustang haul that Jerry's bringing in is 2 67s and a 65. Haven't seen them in person. None of them fastbacks. Yeah, Laura says everyone knows no armadillo is taking out Dizzy. That's right. That's right. I'm sure it was a good fight. The Department of Conservation here in Missouri warned of it. Okay. Yeah, our climate's getting a little warmer, so we're starting to see things, that we didn't used to see. Alligators live farther north than they ever have. I know that we have a fair number of them in North Carolina, not so much in Virginia yet, but I would not at all be surprised if we start seeing them around the Chesapeake Bay. I'm sure there's been a sighting or two or whatever already, but yeah, we're starting to see animals we did not see. That little moth is bugging me. There's one moth in here. I think that's what it is. Go that way. Cletus says, yo, cousins. Hello, Cletus. Danny Boyd says, I wish I was in Amarillo eating barbecued armadillo. You're in Ohio, right? That's why you're saying barbecued like it's a verb. For those who don't know, you should watch the tutorial that Rhett and Link did on barbecue. It's a good video, especially for people from up north to learn about barbecue. Barbecue is not a noun, and barbecue is not a grill, and barbecue is not a cookout. Blue Collar Performance said, warmer climate just means a longer racing season. Okay, yeah. We're not going to fix it. We're sure not going to fix it with CFCs and any of that. The warmer climate is what it is, but it definitely is. Finished project. You still have to swim in the Jordan River before eating it. There you go. That would fix it. Leave it to UP to make that comment. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Look, Dodge says the Bears in the South too. I never used to see the Bears in southern Wisconsin other than the Chicago type. Yeah. We have a lot of animals coming north, because of that. Dizzy says armadillos have made it up to Missouri River here. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of them in Tennessee driving through. A lot of them. So where I live, I'm on a mountain in Christiansburg, Virginia. So I'm about 2,100 feet here. Some areas in this valley are 2,900 feet. But we're 21,200 here is roughly where we are. But any direction I go downhill and off the mountain. So as soon as I go down off the mountain, for instance, if I go south of here, like toward Cana, Virginia, about an hour south of here, the climate is very different because we go down so far in elevation. It's amazing how different it is just an hour away from here for that reason. Colin says they're in South Carolina. Yeah. Rumor has the Bears are leaving Chicago. Oh, yeah, I believe that's a done deal. Moving over to Indiana. Like everybody else is doing, fleeing Illinois. They're going over to Indiana. That's what our friend Cope did about 20 years ago. He fled Illinois for Indiana. Hey, even the Bears don't want to live in Chicago. Well, they do this stuff to themselves. Dizzy said, I've seen 2 cougars here and had a black bear 4 miles from me. We got all that good stuff here. Huh. Mohawk said it's fun scaring an armadillo. They jump straight up 3 feet or more. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I've only seen them creeping around the road like a possum. Left Turn Dodge says they better go to Indy than come north. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I would never, ever, ever live in Illinois. If I was living in Illinois, there would be some amazingly catastrophically bad reason for it. Max Wedge Dick Dashley, we eat more possum. Yes, because he's in Pennsylvania. We don't have him here yet. And probably won't, but I can see them. Like I said, once you come off the foot of the mountain there at Fancy Gap, you lose a lot of elevation in a short amount of distance, and the climate's very different. It's surprisingly different. It's like when you go south, you start getting that weird grass that's, dense and short. Not even really Bermuda grass. The Bermuda grass is real popular in Georgia and Florida, but the grass itself is different. It's not like the kind of grass we have here. Unfinished project says corn-fed possums isn't bad. Well, yeah, okay. I saw a possum a few days ago. I was at my place in Bluefield, and I watched a possum walk across the driveway to the neighbors, and it was completely random. Lars says a couple cougars around here, got to watch your wallet around them. Yeah. Better than California. You never see people from Wisconsin with a second home in Illinois. Yeah, I could see that. Stovall Farms and Garage. He's seen armadillos as far north as Effingham, Illinois, and all around Sykeston. They are mostly nocturnal. Yeah. I've seen them headed there, but Sykeston is on just about the same latitude that we are here, but it's a lot lower in elevation. Much, much lower in elevation. Danny Boy heard a possum singing White Lightning one time. Was that karaoke? Was that about 2 a.m.? There, and Buff says they have a few armadillos there in Tennessee. Yep, they do. I know that area has them. Oh, all right, Rod, stick him for 4 minutes. Russell did. Dizzy. Possum and groundhog are both good slow baked, or slow baked, I'm assuming he means. Yep, Russell, you missed a conversation all about are armadillos edible. Colleen says, I remember when armadillos were only in Texas and Oklahoma. Exactly. When we were kids, they hadn't moved up as far as they had. Mexican Spec said, I can't pronounce what possum is in Spanish. Look up the word. Huh. Stovall Farms and Garage. I'm in southeastern Illinois. I was here first. I'm not leaving. I get that, and I respect that. You were there first. You didn't ruin the state. It's people moving there who ruined it for you, and that's not your fault. And I respect that. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm in Virginia. I didn't ruin this place. Everybody came from up north to these communities from D.C., moved to this side of the river, and ruined it from up there. I didn't play any part in the ruination of it. So I understand you standing your ground. And I respect that. Everybody says just move away. No. I was here first. Now we're talking about Arabian stuff. So it's a good thing we're reaching weird hour. It's a good thing we're near the end here. Unfinished project said accident at Cletus's. Tell me about that. What is the deal with that? Because I don't know, what all was what. Is that what happened to the guy from 1320? Is that because I don't know? I have no idea. I don't watch that side of the world of what's going on. Buff Del Campo said, I left California in 91. Great improvement in my life. Yeah. Yeah, my cousin's daughter moved to California. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something. I can't imagine, but whatever. I've never seen the part of California that's on the postcards. I'll tell you that. I've driven through Northern California on the way to a training class and saw the wild horses. That was nice. I've been to parts around LA, again, for training class. One day, I said, it's my last day to do it. So I got in from class right away, and I took off and went to Long Beach one day just so I could put my feet in the Pacific Ocean, and I did. And drove back and got all my stuff, ready and ready for training the next day. I said, well, if I don't do it now, I never will. So I did. Cousin Cletus says 139 days. You better get on it, cousins. I agree. It is 138 days, 2 hours is it. Northern California is a different world from Los Angeles. Yes, it is. I totally agree. Totally agree. The most of LA I ever saw was at LAX, the airport. I got stuck there for about 8 or 9 hours waiting on a flight one time, and I was sitting at this long bar, and it had all plugins for your phone, which was nice. I was just sitting there, my head down on the table, asleep, but I was looking out there at the tarmac for about like 8 or 9 hours. Like, well, that's where they filmed the movie Speed. They filmed those scenes there, which is cool, I guess. But it's like 8 or 9 hours, and that airport is not a good one to get stuck in. If you're going to get stuck in an airport, get stuck in Atlanta. I'll tell you another one. It's not very big, but it sure is cool. Is Reno. But LAX is not the fun one to get stuck in if you got to. Mostly low parts. That's exactly how I feel about people moving in on me. Supposedly they're going to build a subdivision across from my house. This shooting range and loud cars have been up here for 30 plus years. Sorry. And the thing is you'll get shafted on that. I've seen it happen numerous times. They move in there. They always get the people of the party that will do it to say, let's see what we can do about getting that range shut down, because we hate guns, and they do it every time, and it's so criminal. That was there. It was there first. That's the problem of the people who want to move there, not the people who are already using for that. I completely agree, but not the world we seem to live in a practical way. I'll stick around just a few minutes. We still have 38 people in here, and Jethro is napping in a different spot, so he's clearly zonked out from his walk this afternoon because I haven't heard a word out of him. Wendy says, I will never get stuck in an airport. Well, it was just temporary. It was just a few hours because I had to have with our flight. Well, it had nothing to do with me. But when we were yeah, it was I never, checked guns there. Never. I was flying with long guns and pistols, and was on a trip up to Thunder Ranch. And I remember, which airport was it? It would have been the Reno airport. I remember checking my case in this real crowded lobby. This guy came back from TSA. He never even had to ask who was who or anything. He could look at us and tell we were the people who checked all that hardware, right? He was very nice, but we went back and they took everything down, looked at everything. He was real nice about it, though. But, yeah, we got shaken down a little bit on that trip. And we walked off the range that night, had no opportunity to crash the hotel or clean up or anything. We literally went straight from there. Got a couple hours sleep, got on the plane at 6 in the morning, and had powder residue all over us. I said, man, if we go through the swabs or sniffers or dogs, there's 100% chance we're setting that off. So, but they didn't. They randomly weren't. Some days they do, some days they don't. I mean, we smell like a fireworks factory from all the powder on us. Got away. I mean, it was fine. We didn't have anything, and they had contraband or anything, but it was just, we would have definitely set all the powder swabs off. I'm always really conscious of that when I fly, to make sure to wash everything and wear stuff that, doesn't have powder residue on it. Because I've known fellow instructors who have worn the wrong jacket or something from the range, and it always swabs for powder and all of that. And I try to not do that. Mexican Spec suggests to make sure everyone knows that the house is near a range, they won't sell many houses. You would get in trouble for tortious interference for that because it's not within the four corners of the property. Which Mexican Spec, while he may be right, we would have a problem with that. Wendy says, I'll never fly. you'll never do. Dizzy says, my mountain cur had fought with 3 raccoons trying to get my dog. He grabbed them and tossed them 8 feet. They ran off. Oh, my. Raccoons love to fight dogs. I didn't get through. He would love to fight him, but I won't let him. He wouldn't back down. I know one time he told a 300-pound sheep what time it was one time because the sheep butted into me. Ooh, that wasn't good. He didn't hurt the sheep, but he got the sheep's attention. How could he get in trouble on the truth? You'd be surprised. You can't go around poisoning people's listings because, you know, your opinion of where it is in the range and everything. Now, what you probably could do is you could just try to advertise the range locally and try to get, you know, public space as close as you can and spend your own money to advertise that range is very close. You could probably do that now, yeah. What do you mean, how could you get in trouble telling the truth? There's all kinds of ways to get in trouble telling the truth. You guys know, every one of us could think of 20 ways to get in trouble telling the truth. You know that. But cats can run off a raccoon. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, cats are kind of creepy. They're all right. But you need to be on the cat's good. I guess. Cats are okay. I like animals in general. Yep, Dizzy's calling her tonight. Yeah, we're over time a little bit. I need to wrap up, but I want to thank you all for coming in here. I appreciate you. Hopefully you'll get on it. It's 138 days, 1 hour, 55 minutes until AHRA No Name Nationals. And you guys have a great weekend. Make sure to catch Tech Talk Live on Slant Daily Garage with Professor P. And don't forget of your Edelbrock incentives discount. So people who are registered for the No Name Nationals get 10 to 15% off everything in the Edelbrock catalog, everything, edelbrock.com. And we have our own concierge, Alex So, who is there to take care of us. And sometimes they can find out about things that are allegedly on back order and help us find and source things. They're a good resource for us, so make use of that. But with that, you all have a great evening. I will see you guys again next Friday. Take care.